Hi, my name is Paul Grogan, and in this gaming rules video I'm going to be giving you my quick and dirty review of Futuropia, designed by Friedemann Friese and published by 2F Spieler and Stronghold Games. This game is one of the games that was voted on by my Patreon supporters as a game that I would review before the end of the year, so that's what this video is. And if you are interested in supporting me and you enjoy the content that I make, then please head over to patreon.com and consider supporting me there. So on with the review. Now, let's start with all the good things. I brought back a number of games from Spiel this year, and one of the things that's good about this game is it's quite different. I mean, it's classic Friedemann Friese. It's a look-free economic game, right? Now, I don't have many games like that. I do like my Euros, where you're getting resources and worker placement and all of that kind of thing. And this is different. Out of all of games that I brought back with me this year, this is something different. So I'm very, very glad that I got a copy and brought it home with me. I've played it 4 times now, I think. I've played it 1, 2, 3 and 4 player. And I've very much enjoyed those games. Now, the rules actually are fairly streamlined. You've basically got 5 actions that you can do. You have these action tiles, and everybody starts with the same action tiles, and you have 5 of them, and when you do an action, you flip the tile face down. And then, at the start of your turn, if all of your tiles are flipped face down, you flip them all back up, and then you can do the actions again. Now, you might think, oh, well, everybody's just going to be doing the same thing. Well, the game, although it has fairly streamlined rules, and a lot of the game might feel that, oh, well, it's just obvious. Well, you just do this, and then you do this, and you've got to do them in that order. It's actually not like that. There is a lot of scope for flexibility. So for a start, I mentioned the 5 actions. Well, you could just do this action and then do this action and then decide, right, I now want to refresh my tiles. So you can refresh your action tiles before you've used them all. But there is a penalty for doing that. So you've got to balance up, is it worth me doing that or not? There's also a way in the game, basically you're producing food and then consuming food, and you're producing power or energy and consuming energy. So you might think, well, why consume energy? Oh, if I use this card now, I'm going to consume 6 energy and I've only got 4 energy. Well, that's not, so you might think, oh, well, I better do this first, which produces power so that I've got enough power. Well, you can always buy the extra power that you need if you are consuming more than you actually currently have. So, as I say, within these 5 choices of which action you want to do, there's actually quite a lot in there. Now, I've not played this game enough to know the absolute optimum way of doing it. And one of the downsides of this game, potentially, I don't know, it might be a downside, is once you've solved the puzzle and once you've worked out the optimum way of doing things, then you might just end up repeating those same things every time you play. Now, I'm not at that stage yet. I've played it 4 times. I'm more than happy to play it another dozen times. But after that dozen times, if there becomes a way of like, oh yeah, you do that one and that one and that one, and then you pay to flip them back, and then you do that one and that one, there might end up becoming an optimum way of playing. As I say, I don't know. So it's potentially a downside, but until I've played it a lot more, I don't really know. Other things I like about the game, there is a market in the game. So there are food generators and there are energy generators. And the way that it works is with this market board here. It's a very, very simple market board, but this is what the market board looks like. And it has 2 cubes which start on the bottom of each of the tracks. And basically every time, there's always 2 generators, 2 food generators and 2 power generators in the market at all times. And if you buy the one on the left, it's cheaper. But if you buy the one on the right, which is more expensive, the price goes up. So the price of this market dynamically changes depending on which one you buy. It's a really nice, clever mechanism. I mean, we've all seen market changing prices before, but I've not seen one like this. It's very simple, it's very clever, and it does make for some interesting decisions. And then the market refills, basically when the market empties, it refills, and you get a little bit like Power Grid in the fact that you have generators that get bigger and better as time goes on. You get the same with this. So there is a definite flow of the game in terms of the generators basically providing more and more stuff. Now, one of the things that I wasn't too keen on in the game is The fiddly parts of this. Now, the rules in the game basically say that because you can only have 7 generators, and when you buy an 8th one, so let's say I buy this one and this is my 8th one, then you have to lose one of the other generators. And so you take out that generator and you remove it. Now, the rulebook says that you're supposed to slide everything to the left. But then you have a bit of a problem because there's only supposed to be one of these people in each of these vertical columns, and you might get robots to work for them down below. And basically every time you do that, you have to move all your people around. So there's a number of points in the game where you're like, all right, I now need to feed my people. How many people do I have? 1, 2, 3. And you've got to count them all again. Now, the rulebook says lay down every 5th one and that will help you count, which is absolutely fine. But as soon as you start moving these generators around the bottom and you have to keep moving the people around, it's just a little bit fiddly. Now, we found if you don't slide the generators to the left and you just leave them where they are, it's much easier. So there's a few fiddly bits of the game. It takes up a lot of table space, but, and I know I've said that in a previous review as a sort of negative thing, and that's because in the previous game where I said it was a negative thing, the boards were big and you didn't have the flexibility really of where they go. In this game, there's so many components, there's loads of bits everywhere, but they're all small bits, so you can sort of move them around however you want. You can bunch the market up if you want to. So it's very modular in that you can have bits everywhere. So it will take up quite a bit of table space, but you can move things around. Now, another thing I like about the game is the variability in the game, because the game has the basic game, and then you have the advanced mode where you basically get, so there are 8 starting condominiums, the A side, and then there is the B side of each one, and each one of them, and there's 8 of them, has a special ability. And you can choose to play without them or with them. So that's a nice little extra bonus. There's also the A side and the B side of all of the other tiles, just to provide you a little bit of variability. And then there are some advanced rules where there is these variant tiles, and this is just a really nice simple addition. There are these 9 variant tiles, you shuffle them, you choose 2 at the start of the game, and they basically slightly tweak the rules of the game for that game. So it will play out a little bit differently. Overall, the flow of the game is always going to be the same. The victory points are always going to be the same. So yeah, 90% of the game is going to be the same, but it's like, oh, in this game, you know, the 12 generators are replaced by a different type of 12 generators. I just like the fact that they've put that in there. Now, components wise, I mentioned earlier on, there's a lot of them. The components are really good quality. So lots and lots of these people, lots and lots of these little nice robots. The card stock is all really, really good. Paper money. I'm not a fan of paper money. I know it's a tradition with his games. I just don't like them. I've got them here. I will never play this game with paper money. I will always use poker chips or something else, just anything other than paper money. I'm really not a big fan. But as I say, they kind of do it, and I'm sure not everybody hates paper money as much as I do. But components-wise, you get a lot of components, and they're really good quality. There is a slight production issue with the game, which has been acknowledged on BGG. These variant tiles, some of them have the wrong backs. It's just a production issue. It's not a big problem because what you do is you just shuffle them and hold them under the table and choose 2 at random. The other thing which isn't a production issue, but I feel it is these action tiles. I mentioned each player has the same set of 5 of these action tiles. They all come with purple backs. So I have 4 sets of these tiles, all with purple backs. Okay? You get a player aid, which is in the player colours. Why didn't they put the player colours on the back of these? Because every game you've got to sort out all of these and you've got to go, right, everybody needs one of these, everybody needs one of these. It'd just be much easier to put the player colours on the backs of these. So one of those little things that is, you know, possibly they didn't think of at the time, but actually does cause a bit of a problem. I don't know why I'm lining them up, you can't actually see them. Anyway, it's got loans in the game. It's an economic game. So again, going back to what is the optimum strategy? I don't like taking loans in games, but this is one of those games where you might have to take loans. And the way that the interest payments work on the loans is really interesting. You only pay the interest when you flip your tiles over. Okay, so that's nice. You've got to pay your loans back by the end. And also, when you pay your interest on your loans, you can pay it with energy, food, or money. So although when you take a loan, you get money, you can pay it back with anything. So if you're going with a heavy power strategy, if there is such a thing, then you can use your excess power to actually, you know, pay off your loans and things like that. So there's a lot of choices in the game of what you do. And as I say, it is like a little bit of a puzzle. The solo game is an interesting puzzle. in that you can just keep playing it and go, oh, right, in this game I'm going to try and do this and do things differently. So, moving on to the rulebook. Now, the last game I reviewed from Stronghold Games, I was basically saying that the rulebook was one of the best rulebooks that I'd read that year, and it was almost perfect, and it was very, very good. This one, unfortunately, not. There's a couple of very, very key concepts which are not really explained. They're kind of hinted at, but there's not enough words and there's not enough examples. We played our first game completely incorrectly, and that's 3 experienced gamers. We played the game incorrectly. There's also an error in the rulebook which helped cause that problem. It uses the term unoccupied to mean 2 completely different things in 2 completely different places, and that meant we played incorrectly. So there's a few things about it that are not that great. I mean, it's not the worst rulebook. I've read terrible rulebooks. You know, there's a lot of good things in the rulebook, but that one thing caused us to play the game incorrectly. And there's a lot of very, very unusual wording and terminology in here, which made me read sentences 2 or 3 times. And eventually I think, okay, I think I know what it's saying, but the wording that was used wasn't that precise and was very, very weird. So it's telling me in the section on final scoring, for example, where all you want is final scoring, this is how you score, right? It goes on about loans and it starts saying that, oh, loans are really useful to get during the game because they'll help you. I don't want to know that in the section on final scoring. I want to know that in the section on loans. You know, final scoring should just be any loan you have left at the end of the game is -3 points. Don't tell me what loans are useful for in the final scoring section. Anyway, I'm being a bit critical of it. There are a number of things like that in this rulebook that made it a bit hard to read. The way that the starting bit is done didn't work for me at all. It would have been better just with explain the rules and then give examples. Anyway, we now have learned how to play the game correctly. So yeah, you're just going to need to invest a little bit of time. And if you've got any questions about the game, feel free to drop me a message because I've been through that learning curve with the rulebook and I now think I know how to play the game correctly. So yeah, very, very different style of game. Do enjoy playing it. The play time is quite short. The teaching time is quite short because you've just got basically the 5 actions and then you explain how the scoring works. There appears to be quite a bit of variability in the setup with the A and the B side and things like that. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing some more games of it. So I hope you found this video useful in my very quick and dirty review of Futuropia. If you've played the game and you like it, you agree or disagree with my comments, then please let me know in the show notes below. And if you do enjoy my content, then please head over to patreon.com and consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can make more content. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.